Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DATAcated show. My name is Kate Strachny, and I am going to be the host for today's show. Really excited about our topic here today. We're talking about real-time AI success stories across a few different industries. And our guest speaker for today, the Chief Marketing Officer at DataStax, is going to talk to us about real-time AI. And we have some really cool case studies and stories that we're going to share with you. Before we get into the show itself, I just want to remind folks that this is a live show. You are here to participate. So if you're in the audience, say hello. It's another way for you to network with your peers who are also joining the show. Feel free to ask questions throughout the live show. We're not waiting till the end. We'll take questions and comments as they come. So if you're here with us now, you can let us know, start by letting us know where you're tuning in from. I think that's always interesting to see sort of the diversity and the backgrounds of the audiences. You can let us know some of your experience with AI. Do you work with AI? Do you work with real-time AI? Feel free to go in and into the chat and say hello. Now, thank you to DataStax for providing a few giveaways today. We're giving away 2 DataStax Swag boxes. And all you have to do to participate is type in hashtag DataStax into the chat. If you're joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch, it does not matter. Just type in hashtag DataStax and you'll be entered into this raffle. We'll select the winner about halfway through the show and another winner towards the end of the show. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring up our guest speaker here. Thomas, welcome to the DATAcated show.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me. Super excited to exchange with the dedicated audience.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to have you here. I think before we get into the topic, before you even look into the chat, I think it's great to get to know you. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself. How did you get to DataStax? What is your role there? And just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So at DataStax, I coach everything marketing, from communications, how we engage with developers, ML engineers, demand generation, etc. And before that, I've always worked in the data space, either data protection, integration, analytics, because I'm very passionate about people, technology, and data, and the wonderful things that happen when you mix all of these. So super excited to talk about real-time AI, especially at an age where we see new things about AI almost on a daily basis, not only on how AI is done, but the impact on marketing and actually on businesses. So really looking forward to the discussion today.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And where are you based right now?
I am right now in Santa Clara in our wonderful HQ. We are a distributed company, so we have team members all across the world. But yes, I'm based in the Bay Area.
Okay,
French,
awesome.
I'm French. I'm actually, you might catch it from the accent. I'm born and raised in France.
Okay, nice. All right. Well, we've got folks here from India. We've got folks just saying hello. We've got a bunch of hashtag DataStax coming in here, and they're all sort of just flowing in really fast. So thank you all for joining the session. I think a good place for us to start would be, we're talking about real-time AI. So let's maybe start by defining AI and real-time AI, and what are some of the differences there?
Absolutely. So AI is indeed not a new space and a new domain. It's been around for, I guess, 50 years. But what we've seen, especially in the last years, is the need to take AI, machine learning, closer to the applications, closer to the user experiences and such. And what we've seen developing in our community and in some of our customers are ways to actually leverage the right data, have the right processes so that you can really apply AI when it matters, when you have a user waiting for an answer or a recommendation, when you have a decision that needs to be taken on a critical process. So real-time AI does not replace any other form of AI. It actually complements by using certain data sources and as we may address in a conversation, processing things in a slightly different way to drive new types of insights that can be applicable not only in real time to improve an experience, but also can really help with some of the longer term strategy decisions. So that's why we see more and more companies looking at it. I would even say that it's been part of the challenges that many organizations are facing. They've been doing AI long-term predictions for some time, which can help in some use cases, that you can fix your pricing strategy, these kind of things. But how do you take that knowledge and sometimes this immense amount of data that you have already and then put it to work, so to speak, so for the benefit of the customers or for the benefit of your organization? Right now, there's kind of a wall that a lot of organizations are hitting, which is it's expensive, it's complex. But there are ways that some of the organizations we're going to talk about have actually solved this. And this is what we want to bring to every organization.
Great. And my question is, why now, right? So we've had AI for quite some time. Why the focus on real-time AI? Are people becoming less patient? Do they just want things right now? Or are they seeing maybe some of the benefits of having access to that data now versus later?
I love the angle you took. Yes, that's absolutely true. We are all very impatient. We don't want to order a coffee on our phone and then get it, and the coffee is like tepid or the foam is gone. We want, as consumers, as part of the experiences, we want to consume in the instant, and we also expect something very personal. We almost want the experience to know us better than our parents know us, as an example. So there's indeed an appetite on the audience, which means for the organizations, it's the ability to differentiate. But on the other hand, when you look at the new data sets that are appearing, everything we do on digital experience, etc., there's like tons of new data, real-time data that becomes available very often in the forms of events, small messages that tell us that Thomas went there in a website, or here's where Thomas came from, which is actually the fact. If you ask industry analyst IDC, they said this is the fastest growing data type in the enterprise, and it's going to be it's growing 30% per year. It's going to be 30% of the overall data set for companies, and it's vastly still untapped. It's used to drive applications, but this is where there's a connection to be made between the power of ML and AI and this real-time data, because as we may develop later, are great insights to be extracted, and this is what will also allow you to act in the moment.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I had a question, but I see a very similar question in the audience, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump to George Firkin's question here. He's asking for some examples of how real-time AI has been successfully deployed in different industries and some of the benefits that organizations have seen. Now, I know we'll get into actual examples in just a minute, but I think the question around industries, I'd love to hear your insights on where are we seeing the biggest impact of real-time AI?
Absolutely. So I think it's important to take a step back and look at the outcome of real-time AI, which is very often better applications. And this is where every industry that has some form of customer experience is probably, I ready to bet that in the next 3 years is going to look at real-time AI. Think about gaming, think about streaming platforms, think about e-commerce, and how you can personalize and really get this immersive experience. This is where it goes back to your point about us being like wanting to things in the instant, but things that are absolutely personalized. I think also with everything going digital, there are many processes that need to happen in real time. I'm thinking about fraud detection. I'm thinking about some transactions, and there needs to be decisions taken in context. And real-time AI excels at taking this decision. I think fraud detection, or some of we see a lot of customers looking at it for cybersecurity, identifying some threats that might happen as they occur, not after the fact, is a very good example of how the ability to understand and categorize a certain situation, which may be an issue, and being able to stop it is actually way more efficient than trying to actually fix it after the fact, which is more expensive and complex. I think the other pattern so in terms of industries, you can think about manufacturing, you can think about financial services, you can think and there I think the value really becomes that you're able to prevent a lot of accidents, and also you can fine-tune your processes to get to the desired outcome. So there's also probably revenue gains or minimize losses. The last pattern that I would propose is with everything becoming connected and digitalized, so to speak, there are a lot of use cases. Uber comes to mind, where there are new businesses, new services that are based on the connectivity between a lot of different assets. And if you can manage the context, take decisions, then you have visibility that really serves not only predicting how much time the car is going to come and pick us up, but we see also a lot of use cases in the context of agriculture. How do you help actually farmers get better yield from their crops while actually being eco-conscious? We also have customers that are working in a context of when you have oil wells, when you have a power grid, how do you make sense and how do you manage it, taking in context, like as an example, the weather. So, and I love these because there's a real impact. The benefit here is that actually will protect the environment a little bit better. So it goes beyond the traditional business value. It's actually something that impacts us all.
Seems like only good can come from this, but I guess that's a whole conversation for another day about maybe
it's a very valid point. I mean, you have a perspective on what's happening, which you could use for different means. So of course, it's on all of us in the industry to make sure that we use it for good. But I think what's interesting when you think about how this can be applied even across organizations or in the context of partnerships, there can be a lot of good that can come out of it and address some of the challenges we're facing as a society.
Yes, well, we're positive. Let's stay positive. Let's be optimistic here. Now, I know in preparation for this show, we've identified 3 sort of use cases, examples, success stories of real-time AI, and we weren't sure how to prioritize them. So I've asked the audience. I'm going to share my screen here. I ran a poll last week asking all of you guys to choose which real-time AI use case you'd like to learn about. I mean, we're going to learn about all 3, but the order in which we're going to learn is based on what you voted for. So we are going to start with maritime shipping industry. We're going to move on to online travel agency and a movie streaming service. And in order to help us have this conversation, we actually have short little clips, video clips that we're going to play. They range from 30 seconds to about a minute in duration. So they're very quick. I think it's good for us to go ahead and start with the maritime industry. So we're going to go ahead and start with Alpha Ori here. So we'll see you in about 30 seconds, and then Thomas and I are going to discuss.
I'm Praveen Vishwanath. I work as a co-founder / chief architect at Alphori Technologies. Alphori is in the business of transforming a multi-trillion-dollar industry, the maritime shipping industry, from using disjointed systems, legacy systems, to using more modern, smart digital enterprises. Our software is currently installed on almost 260 ships. And in the time we have been operational, we have saved about 137,000 metric tons of CO2, or about 44,000 metric tons of fuel. Real-time data is at the core of everything what Alphori does. Being able to handle it at scale is also a big challenge. So we had a POC with DataStax and eventually realized that amount of effort we required would be substantially reduced. And also the cost benefit was substantial. Going in the Astra direction means that we only pay for what we use. We saw substantial savings, at least to the order of 10 for many of our clusters.
All right, I love this example, Thomas. 260 ships, that's a lot of ships. That's not 260 laptops, right? I'd love to just hear more about how you ended up helping them reduce their costs, and if you could tell us anything about those 260 ships. I mean, how long did that process even take to implement?
So yeah, 260 ships is just at the moment. They are constantly talking to new customers. I love all of our customer stories, but this one, for the reason we spoke about before, has a special impact because you can quantify the how they create a benefit for the environment. So what's interesting about Alpha Ori is that they're using an architecture which is very close from what we see a lot in terms of real-time AI. The video focuses a lot on the database as a service that we help them with. They also have streaming, and then they use all of this real-time data to apply ML, but from where it is, which is in a database or in a streaming platform. So how we help them reduce their costs, which was important at the beginning of their journey. They didn't have 260 ships under management yet. Is that, first of all, we are bringing a technology that is extremely robust and can scale. It's based on Apache Cassandra, so it provides low latency, which is very important for them for the real-time aspect. It provides high availability. Literally, if the service go down, some of the insurers, the owners of the cargo or the ships would go blind. And then it's also replicated globally, which is important. The information remains available with low latency across the globe. This is what we provide. This would have cost them, and actually they had tried with other technologies to make it happen, but it was very actually costly for them. It is a startup, and they didn't want to have an army of people just managing the infrastructure for the data. They consider their job to be about the data. So that's why they found us. We met, and they realized that we can operate this service for them, and they just have to focus on the data that is available. The other element is that we took this technology that I mentioned, Apache Cassandra, and we made it in our cloud service serverless, which means they only use what they need. It's very important for them. They can spin up very quickly. They go from 260 to 300, 400 ships. The service is gonna adapt instantly. That's important for them. But it is also an impact on the cost, and combined with the fact that we have a pricing which is based on consumption, that allow them to start small and then get to scale and always control the cost. So there's a low TCO. So that helped them a lot, and then they could focus more on how they use the data. And this is where having access to all of these events that are coming from all the ships at all time is what can feed their machine learning model. This is how they've been fine-tuning, training their models, and starting to build the insights that they can provide in real time. One part that there's just been a glimpse of it in the video is the fact that they have almost a Minority Report grade kind of dashboard where you can see all the ships or the ships of one customer. And that's absolutely cool. And there's an aspect of not only showing what's happening, but what will happen, which is important because there are a lot of downstream processes in terms of loading, unloading, etc., that are NSLAs. So that's really what helps Alpha Ori's customers. They can take decisions. They kind of know what will happen with the boat, and then they can adapt. There's also an aspect indeed of optimizing the route and the processes so that there's the most efficient use of the resources, including fuel, hence the impact on the environment. So the ability for them to just rely on a data platform that provides their data scientists, their data engineers, and the developers the data that's needed to fuel the application is really what has been important. And it becomes kind of this source, this system where they have all the data on which they can have all of these functions, not only for the application, but also for machine learning. That also architecturally, instead of having several parts of architectures, they only have one. That is also driving costs. And that was important because the context of Alpha Ori is that they've actually accelerated tremendously their growth at the time when they started adopting our product, Astra DB, because we contributed to removing barriers to growth for them. They knew they had a better business model. They could onboard ships and new customers. They knew exactly the cost. So that gave them also that extra confidence in growing.
Yeah, thank you. I love this as the real-time AI use case, but also as sort of a lessons learned for how to sell data software or data platforms, right? You start small and you show them results immediately without saying, okay, we have to get all your ships on this system now. That makes it so massive. So I think I love the fact that you were able to start small and show that value. All right, Thomas, are you ready?
And if I may make a comment about this, I think it's very important, especially when you touch on ML and AI, because we all know, and I think the audience would agree, it's all about the journey. You don't like wake up, say, yep, I got it. I got my insights. I'm done. It's a lot. It's working on the data. It's refining these. This is the way data scientists work. This is the way you actually optimize and you keep your ML systems relevant. So having the ability to start small, but learn fast and then grow this way, not only in terms of business, but in terms of insights, I think that's going to be the recipe for a lot of the future successes in AI and ML.
Yes, absolutely. And before we go on to our second example, I'll take a question here from the audience. Sai is asking if you can share some information on the data volumes and the data workload for the DataStax platform coming through these ships.
So I won't have exact numbers, but it's pretty big because this data is streamed all the time. So it's not like they're sending either like hundreds of parameters every microsecond, but they have actually considerable amount of data per ship that they all centralize and make available across the globe, and then they need to be able to serve all the dashboards, etc. So we're talking about probably on a daily basis, a few, I would say per ship, it's going to be it could be up to 1 gigabyte of data that is uploaded. They have satellite connection, so it might be less. It depends also where the ship is, and that's the beauty of the Alpha system, is that they have the ability to adapt to these various quality of services. They have actually edge servers on the ships, but the amount of data adapts to this quality of service. But ultimately, there's a lot of data because they also take historical data, of course, to fine tune the
Yeah, that makes sense. And I love that you have the pay-as-you-go consumption, right? Consumption model. So they use what they need. It encourages, I think it's such a smart model. People get afraid of it. They're like, oh, I'm going to get charged for what I use. Like, yeah, that's how you want. You don't want to be charged for what you don't use, right? It's
a critical element of business models, I think, not only for us, but actually for our customers. They want to start. We have many startups. I'm thinking about companies like Temporal, who started with us, and they just tried our free tier, and they started building their technology because they had less barriers to growth. They knew they had a solid solution, and they also had this perspective on their total cost of ownership, which matters, especially in the early days. So the ability to have a curve that starts at zero and that grows with your business, not with any other factor, is something that allows you to have a healthier business model, especially when it comes to data. And then your costs are going to be, investments are related to the amount of data that you have under management, which very often is going to be also a factor in the value that you provide.
Right. Absolutely. So I think before we go on to our next example, which is going to be an online travel agency, I want to pause and ask the audience to try and guess which online travel agency. I know there's so many. I'd be shocked if someone actually guesses. I mean, maybe not. So which online travel agency do you think we're talking about here? It's going to be a real-time AI use case. Drop that in the comments. While we do that, I'm also going to do our first giveaway here. So hashtag DataStax to play. So two things: you're dropping comments of hashtag DataStax in the chat, and you're also trying to guess the online travel agency. I actually used this travel agency to book my trip for Big Data London coming up in September. So this is actually interesting. I'm going to go ahead and draw our first giveaway. And if you see yourself as the winner of this giveaway, all you have to do is find me, mostly on LinkedIn, but if you can find me on any other platform, Dr. Arun, please just contact me and say, hey, I won the DataStax swag box, and I will make sure to coordinate the details and have you get the giveaway. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Awesome. We're going to have one more giveaway towards the end of the show, so stay tuned and keep those questions and comments coming in. All right, let's see. Okay, we've got Expedia, Kayak, Travelocity.
I think you called it.
I did. Interesting. I think what happened is somebody puts one word and then other people try to, okay, that's the one. I'll give you a hint. It starts with a P, but we're not gonna wait for the comments to come in. We're gonna go ahead and play our short video here. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
We spent the last 2 years building out our real-time data infrastructure, which really powers the cells of what I would say the organization. And so we're able to get millions of events of what our customers are doing. Now we have an opportunity to use all of that rich information to start building out very robust machine learning models such as anomaly detection or tailored personalization for our customers or recommendation and pricing, all powered by the real-time data that we're capturing today.
All right, Thomas. So how does Priceline actually use real-time AI? Let's start with that.
So it's all about the experience. It's a perfect example of what we were discussing a little bit earlier about real-time AI can transform the experience. And what's interesting is if we decompose a little bit what Marty was saying, it first starts with the data that drives the application. The events he was talking about is really all the behavior of people in the application, which is going to be important. You obviously want this data to be available because you want to see your inventory, you want to see a reaction to what you do in the application that's instant. So the ability to have a very reliable data layer that provides this data is absolutely critical, especially at the volumes that Priceline has. It's one of the leaders in the market. They have millions of users, so lots of traffic, and you need to manage this different context. But what's interesting is what they do, and that's where we go towards real-time AI, what they do with it. The first element is that with all of these events, they have a better knowledge of the customer, of you, Kate, being looking for the best trip and the best boutique hotel in London. They want to know about you, and that's how they use Marty mentions loyalty. So that's how they start actually making sure that they track what you do, which is what you would expect as a user. And it goes beyond the customer demographic and the ID. It's actually tracking where you're coming from, what have you looked at, what are maybe your previous purchases and such. And it helps with this notion of loyalty. So that's another step in the experience. But what's interesting is when they apply on top of it machine learning, still on this event data, which is used by the application, then they're able to have their machine learning model. They can train them, they can serve them, and in real time, they know that it's you, Kate. They know what you like. They know what they have to offer. And in the instant, they actually make you that offer. So you win. They win also because they can push what they have. And what's really interesting is this use of event data, which is very often what data scientists prefer because it's like a time machine for them. They can look at what you've done in the past in fine details, etc. There are features they may have not thought about that they can see in this historical data. They're going to have the same data in real time, and that's what makes the intelligence. And Marty spoke, I think, in this short extract, he spoke about the recommendations, but they also use it extensively. Their analysis, if there's a fraud on is this a good customer? So there's a whole set of intelligence services that are happening without you even noticing. That's the way you want it, but actually that really tailors the experience for you. So it's a perfect example of combining this real-time data at rest, what's happening in the application, using what they know about you, so they get to the best outcome for you as well as for them.
Thank you, Thomas. It's so interesting how, as humans, we want the tailored experience. I want to be able to go to Priceline, type in only once the dates I want and the location. And I want them to remember and know that, sort of what I like, what I don't like, or I want them to guess in a very educated way what they think I would enjoy there, what flight I would like based on my habits. But I also don't want them to have my personal data. It's just so interesting. As humans, we don't want to give away that data, but we almost at this point expect that if I come back to Priceline tomorrow, I want them to say, "Hey, do you still want to go to London? Do you still want to book this trip?" Because I don't want to select the dates again. So it's just ironic how
I think it's not. I mean, I don't want the audience to think that Priceline is using exactly the same data set that any other site.
Of course,
based on what we've shared, as consumer. I think the difference for Priceline, as well as for any business that's going to lead in the future, is really about how can you use whatever data you have and really turn it into value for your customer. And that's really, I think, the power of real-time AI, because you can also, exactly like Spotify do it, you can look at which cohort you're a part of, and maybe that could be another signal. So it's the ability to use this signal and use this data but it's not like they're spying on you or anything. And that's
But I almost wish they were. I almost wish they
no,
would be.
no. Yeah,
It would be easier.
I totally agree, but I think it's something that everybody who's in AI and ML needs to think about these days.
Yeah.
It's a very important point you highlight, which is like, how do we, with the data we have, how do we make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we did have a guest here from Eric. Woo, Priceline. he guessed it right. I don't know if that was after the video or not, but we have a question here from Saurabh. So if you can shed some color on how does the AI ML help Priceline in their monetization strategy?
Well, actually, it's better experience, drives more new customers, but also it keeps customer coming back, so that impacts their revenue. I think the ability also to match the best offers, they have offers to the right customer, is also going to make sure that they are able to have the best propensity to close these deals, so to speak, and satisfy customers. So there's a direct impact from the quality of the experience, the quality of the offers, with the revenue. They don't monetize, as far as I know, their data per se, and that's not the point of what we're discussing here. But it's just about the experience and making sure that you get this instant connection. That it's all about the. It's very interesting. In the rest of the video, Marty talks about being an agency, not being an. He mentions e-commerce, but there's still this notion of agency, human relationship. I think they want to keep this, and he says it's almost like a mission statement. We want to offer the best deals, and I think AI ML is really what helps them be differentiated by delivering on their promise, which is, here's the best deal for you, Kate, and you'll feel it's going to be the case. It's driven by AI and ML, so that's what makes them stand out and have more customers coming back again to book their travels via Priceline.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I come back, right? It worked for me before, so I came back. By the way, Eric said it was before, so he guessed Priceline before the fact.
Yeah,
so
no, that's true. I saw it. Yeah, absolutely.
Good work, Eric. I actually wanted to say, so for our last example, let's see if we can get folks to guess. So this is a TV, movie, show streaming provider. So I don't know how else to describe it, right? Thomas, do you have a better description so folks can start guessing the company?
No. I think you're avoiding a certain word, so I will do the same. But soon they will be do gaming as well.
Okay. While folks get their guesses in, I'm going to ask you a question that I saw from Kristen earlier. Here we go. So we're talking about some, tech savvy organizations here, especially this next one we're going to talk about. So Kristen's question is, are we seeing any less tech-savvy organizations adopting real-time AI for things like personalization?
Yes, absolutely. It's a need, first of all, on the business side, tech-savvy or not. And I think there are now faster way to take this personalization logic to market that don't require very complex infrastructure and massive investments. We're going to talk, our next example is going to be a perfect example for personalization, but it's also been a journey for several years. Now, what they've taught the industry can now be applied in matters of months in a context of a less tech-savvy organization. And it also I think what's also feasible is the approach. Now, AI and ML is getting out of the experimentation phase with a lot of experimentation. It's really, the data sets are well mastered. They can be understood. And we all know as an industry, it's better to start on a small scope, start learning, and then start integrating it in the business. So I think the technology, the skills, I would say, as well as the approach were refined. So it's much more feasible for less tech-savvy organizations.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Okay, we've got some cool guesses coming in. So we've got Hulu, Disney, Netflix, Amazon, Twitch, Amazon Prime, Peacock. I saw another one down there, Paramount TV, CBS. All right, the winner is Saurabh. All right, we're going to talk about Netflix. So I'm going to go ahead and play our short video, and we'll be back to discuss.
So Netflix streaming is built on Cassandra, and we are moving to 4.1 version of Cassandra, which will help us in eliminating multiple challenges which we face with Cassandra 3.0. It will help us scale faster. So as we all know that Netflix is stepping into gaming, so it's going to be a very adventurous journey for us, because the way we have handled streaming is a very different, it will be different than the way we'll be going to handle gaming. And I feel that keeping up to date with the latest Cassandra will help us explore more options, that how can we make it work effectively in gaming sector.
And we're back. All right. That was our last little video snippet. So thanks guys for watching. Thomas, so Ayushi mentioned that there are some challenges that they faced and they're sort of working on overcoming those challenges. And now with the introduction of gaming, they might have potential other challenges. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and what can they do to succeed here?
So the challenges that Netflix have been facing are actually, they were one of the first to reach to operate at such a scale. And what they've been facing when it comes to ML is they realized very early on, way before the rest of the industry, the traditional way to do ML, where you're taking data from applications and then you're going to aggregate it, and then it's still too big, so you're going to aggregate it more, you're going to process it, and you're going to use data offline, so to speak, in complex ways to really go through the whole life cycle of machine learning. At the scale they have, it doesn't work, because if they use less data, they're going to lose value. And if they use all of their data, they're going to have a massive cost and complexity problem. So instead of having the traditional approach of taking data to ML and then making it fit into what ML expect, they were one of the first to actually do the opposite, leveraging technologies like Apache Cassandra to bring actually ML to where the data, where the source of truth is, and that is the database that is actually supporting their application. And it's the ability to have their machine learning tapping into these user event data that really allowed them to have not only train their model, but also execute their model in a slightly different way, much more efficient, less costly, but also faster. This is why everything you see in terms of the interface, we're all familiar of the Netflix wall and the recommendations and all of this. All of this is actually driven by all the actions that we took and also what they're seeing in the platform. So they were the first ones to face this huge challenge, but also the first one to solve it. And really that has created immense advantages to them. Ayushi goes in a video and then she explains that it's not only a better user experience, but the insights they get from this data also drives their content strategy. And it's not by chance that Netflix has arguably the best content on the planet. And she goes to explain also there are tons of also infrastructure advantages because they know exactly what's going and they can help the service running. So I just want to give a bit of context because so Ayushi mentions Apache Cassandra, which is the open source database that we're supporting, we're contributing to, etc. Netflix is not actually a DataStax customer. It's a community. It's a community member. We work very closely with them. And as part of this Digital Champions program, you've seen 3 videos. We just highlight the heroes like Ayushi, who have been very successful with these technologies. But coming back to it, now that I explained a bit more about Apache Cassandra, actually Netflix is one of several Apache Cassandra users that we've seen, like Uber, like FedEx as well, who really realized that taking data to ML was just not feasible at their scale. They had to do the opposite, and that opened the really even to us that opened the door to a new type of architecture on which we base real-time AI, which is this ability to use this data to train, to serve models, and then within the application being able to make an impact. So they've solved these challenges. They keep on growing in terms of data, but what's very interesting is that they're also now moving on to a different type of services, gaming, where arguably the personalization is even more constant. We have also a lot of customers looking at it and using Cassandra or DataStax to power gaming experience. And that's it's really interesting that these masters of data and ML are now able to go into this exciting domain because they have this understanding of, well, not only the watcher this time, but the gamer. So even more interactive, and it helped carve the path for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a question there coming in about gaming, but before I go into that, I just you mentioned the community and the digital champions, so I'd love to just learn a bit more about what is DataStax doing for that community.
Absolutely. So the fun fact about DataStax is that DataStax was created to actually support the Apache Cassandra community. We've expanded now what we do to other technologies like Apache Pulsar, etc. But the way we look at community is that it's a wonderful partnership with the community we have, in which we contribute first. We are actually developing actively Apache Cassandra, Apache Pulsar, and even when we have actually innovations that are made in-house, we do what our chief product officer Ed Anuff calls, we innovate in the open, in a sense that we actually provide back these advances. We made Cassandra run on Kubernetes. We actually added an API gateway. We gave all of these back as projects. But now coming to real-time AI, we recently made an acquisition of a company, an events processing engine, which is great for feature engineering, called Cascada. And the first thing we've done a few weeks ago was actually to open source it. So it's available on GitHub. It's an essential piece of the real-time AI architecture, who can take these events and build features on the fly at scale, which helps with the ML model. So that's also how we contribute actively. And then the other, we see our role as also supporting the community. So you'll see us very active in running events, hosting events for the community, highlighting our heroes. You've seen the video of Ayushi, and just exposing. It's all about sharing the successes, the patterns, so that the rest of the community can learn. We've learned a lot, and actually the notion of real-time AI came from what we've discussed. We've discussed with a lot of these Cassandra users that I mentioned, and we realized that their next step was machine learning and AI. Mm-hmm. And we thought, hey, you know what? This is super exciting. We will contribute and make it accessible to the broader community. So for us, community is part of our DNA.
I love it. And I see Lauren from the team has posted a link here for folks to go ahead and check out the Digital Champions program. I think it's very powerful to just highlight individuals, and it helps others just learn and come along on that journey. Now, a quick question that we had here on Netflix. So Saurabh's asking, how can Netflix use AI ML in their gaming expansion? I know you talked a bit about personalization, but would love to just hear more. Like, what I honestly, this is news to me that Netflix is getting into gaming. So what does that even look like?
Well, in terms of experience, it's going to look very familiar. You'll have the same easy way to consume games from various. From actually the same devices that you're using. But when it comes to gaming, we see AI, ML, and real-time data used a lot when it comes to managing the user. The interaction you have with the game is very different than a movie. A movie, you're kind of committed to the duration of the episode or of the movie itself, and you can always resume. Gaming is different. You might lose immediately, so you need to keep the gamer engaged and make sure that they are having fun. So all of this data immediately, you can actually make sure that you incentivize, so to speak, the gamer to stay engaged and keep on not changing the rules of the game. Right. But in long term, you also have a lot of insights about how they're engaging with the game, and you might then tweak some things, some level of difficulty, etc. But it's a lot about keeping the gamer engaged to make sure that they have good fun and that they have a return on their investment, which might be time or money, but that they have this. So it's kind of the ultimate experience, because it's probably one of the experience where you might get frustrated and say, okay, I had enough. You're going to move to something else. So you need to find the right balance for the benefit of the gamer.
Wow, this is so cool. This is almost like back in the day, we used to have exams. I don't know if the SAT was built that way, but it would sort of just keep changing based on your level of skill and knowledge. It would be adaptive to, okay, you got 3 questions wrong on this topic, so let's give you an easier one and really get a sense of where you are at. Oh man, the possibilities are endless for gaming. That's so cool. I can imagine like you're stuck and then it's sort of.
Here's another example. Now you start thinking about generative AI and the fact that now increasingly you can create images and certain things on the fly. So if you have the understanding of the context within the game and then you're able to generate certain things, you have indeed infinite possibilities in terms of experience, but each of them being unique. And that's why I love gaming, because it's such a precursor of the digital experiences. It's really immersive, so it's fascinating. And you look at the technology behind it, it's amazing.
Absolutely. So you mentioned AI here again. I'm going to take this question from Ravit because ChatGPT is on the minds of many people. So Ravit's asking, how often do you use ChatGPT or other similar tools? And this could be from a personal or professional perspective.
So, well, actually, the answer is going to be both professional and personal. I use it on a daily basis. I think developers and marketers are probably on the first line in terms of having their life being changed by generative AI. The fact that we can write better, it's really a game changer. We can analyze data in a slightly different way. We need to be conscious, of course. Differentiation needs to be top of mind. But it's really a game changing in terms of the AI services that look at the data we have, not that we share any customer data in the open, but helps us. Marketing is about a lot of decisions. And when we have the understanding of the context accelerated by AI, it helps us when we can do certain tasks in a different way. It's also accelerated. So Ravit, great to hear from you. But also, it's something that is happening right now, and almost every week we have new services that pop up. So it's fascinating to see, and the team and myself are using it on a daily basis. It augments us. We don't consider it replaces us. It really augments us. But the one thing I want to mention, if you take the next step, and you take what real-time AI is, which is really this real-time predictive AI, and you combine it with generative AI, then we go back to what we were discussing about gaming and experiences. I think we have a very unique way to build experiences of certain processes, which on the fly, you can really do the right thing at the right time for the benefit of the user. So I'm super excited about the combination of generative AI and predictive AI. I think that's the way applications are going to be built in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Just follow up on the ChatGPT. So what's the personal use? What do you use it for personally?
Oh, I use it to sometimes to learn and to not that I don't trust entirely. I know hallucinations and such. But I use it to summarize a few things, or for a few of my personal projects, or even sometimes, honestly, to write certain emails. Sometimes you do a good job, and then you say, hey, how would you say this? How would you summarize this? You're like, okay, you win. That's pretty good. I'm going to use it. So that's also the personal use.
Oh, absolutely. I love using it for emails. And I'll tell you, hey, write an email about, and I'll just misspell, no punctuation. I'll give ChatGPT the worst context, and it comes back with just this beautiful, elegant email. And then I say, no, make this in a more friendly tone, because then it's overly professional. So then I have to kind of tone it down. So it's been interesting playing with that.
Translation also is super cool. So that's
translation. Awesome. Okay, I haven't looked into that. I know we're getting close to time, so just 1 or 2 questions for you. We had a question here from George about what gets you most excited about generative AI. I think maybe couple that with sort of what are you excited about in terms of innovation within DataStax, and sort of what are you hoping to see in the next couple of years in the future, basically.
Absolutely. So first, generative AI, I think we're seeing these very general models that are fed by the internet of a few years ago. We can already taste the power, but it really shows the potential of what can happen when you plug these models into the data, the unique data that each of you have about your customers or your business. And I think that's really going to be the future of generative AI. We're working on a few things with the community. So the same even data that I mentioned that typically is stored in Apache Cassandra will be usable in that context. That means there's going to be a very short feedback loop or actually usage between these models and the data. So very different types of answers that these models are going to be able to provide in a context of the business. But then for the future, I think the future of applications is being rewritten. Yes, they're cloud native. Yes, they're real time, but they're going to be AI powered or ML powered if you want. But that's critical. The future of ML also is evolving quickly. We've been constrained for a long time because we had probably too many tools, too many data places to store data, etc. Data has been actually slowing ML down until now. And I think new architectures are coming up, which means that data engineers, data scientists will work together in a completely different way and faster feedback loop, faster. Even the notion, one of the benefit that we've seen, that we've heard actually from companies like Netflix and others, the fact of having all the data in one place, that the same data is used for training, for serving, is actually great because they know exactly what happened and based on which data. But I think, future of AI, I will come back to this idea we just discussed, which is I can't wait to see what's going to happen when predictive AI and generative AI are blended into one experience or one application. That's going to be super interesting. All of this based on the right data. That's absolutely the foundation. This is where we can help, but that's going to be super exciting.
Yes, absolutely. I think every day there's something new coming up that makes me say, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening now. Like, I just see all these apps being generated from the ChatGPTs, the OpenAIs, and everything's just moving so fast as well. I'm sort of having trouble keeping my pulse on things, but conversations with people like you are very, very helpful for myself, and I'm sure for the audience as well. So Thomas, before we fully wrap, two things. One, we're going to do the giveaway. So hashtag DataStax for that final giveaway. And while folks are getting in that last attempt at a swag box, maybe you can tell folks where they can go to follow your progress, get in touch, or learn more.
Absolutely. So if you want to hear more stories from Digital Champions, we have a Digital Champions webpage. Lauren just put the link in the comments. Thank you, Lauren. We have a real-time AI webpage where we aggregate all of the resources that we've created from the discussions we have with companies doing it to some architectural information, etc. So feel free to start learning there. And then finally, all of our cloud services, you can try them for free. You have free tiers, etc. And in terms of pure ML, I invite you to try. We have Cascada, a recent acquisition, on GitHub. So just go and give it a spin so that you can create features in a different way, and that's going to transform the way you feed your ML models.
Great, thank you, Thomas. And speaking of giving it a spin, let's go ahead and spin this. So congrats again to Dr. Arun. We're going to go ahead and draw again. Let's see who our second winner is. I love how it slows down. Oh, look at that. Lights on Data. Congratulations. Just shoot me a note and we'll make sure to get in touch with you and get you some DataStax. I wanted to say DATAcated because I'm just so used to saying DATAcated. We'll get you some.
We all love data. We all love data.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Thomas, it's been a real pleasure. I really appreciate you hopping on here, doing this live show, taking all the questions from the audience. And as always, thank you to the audience for coming in here and giving us all these great questions and comments and participating in this little guessing game we had throughout the show as well. So I really appreciate everyone's time here, and I will see everybody online. Thank you.
Thank you.